So we were talking to one of our friends the other day. Um, it's always nice when I get to be able to talk to him on the phone
Hmm.
because you can call him and call him. I think so. When we lived here before, right, we met everybody and a lot of our friends that we have. Actually, a lot of the friends we spend most of our time with now are actually folks we've met after the second time of living here in Virginia.
Which is bizarre. It's like a whole new world, so to speak.
Yeah,
Because it's people that it's like we feel like we should have known, right? People that have kind of been born and bred in this area quite a bit.
yeah, kids are all the same age as ours, so for sure it just happened to be that
We just lived in a different neighborhood.
different neighborhood, kids went to different schools,
I
different
guess they're
preschools.
preschools at that age, yeah.
Yeah,
But it was just, it's crazy that it's like so much of the reason that we came back was A, we love the area, we love the weather, we love the scenery, but it was the people.
yeah, the
It,
people, the friends that we had at that time.
right, because Waynesboro was the first place from graduating college. We graduated in '08 when the bottom fell out.
Mm-hmm.
So the prospects for John's job, and this actually kind of ties in a little bit to what we're going to talk about today, but it's the advent of, so you graduate college. So I graduated from dental hygiene school, and you graduated from UF, right?
Right,
And there were no jobs.
right. Yeah, the
So,
one of the jobs I had lined up to teach and coach. In
hmm
fact, I'd already been coaching there for a while,
hmm
for a couple months. Was told I had a job,
hmm
come August,
hmm
and then immediately it was like the governor froze all hiring in the state of Florida.
well, yeah. So for being a teacher, your best prospect was going to be that it was you would get hired from a school district. You were guaranteed to pretty much be fired at the end of every year and then hope to be rehired by that same district. And your chances of moving around were pretty much a guarantee. So the idea that it was okay, we're going to work for the school and this is where we're going to stay, and this is because we were at this point looking for a place to kind of have our roots be. And we love Gainesville. And
Oh
we
yeah.
still love Gainesville. And every time we go back, it still feels like home.
Yeah, I mean, we were thinking about like a rent to own opportunity, like situation with the house that we had that was on that lake.
Well, yeah, it was this is where we met, this is where we went to school, this is what feels like home, and this is where we're going to raise a family.
Yeah, because like the idea is that the I think the biggest thing that gets missed for folks of the purpose of going to college is there's a lot of emphasis on like getting your degree. All right.
Yes, that's kind of important
It,
stuff.
it is. It is, and it isn't. I hate to break it to all like I don't know. Like depends on what you want to do. But I the degree they can't take away from you
Hmm.
unless whatever you do something egregious. But they can't take away your degree. So that's something that you get to have for the end of time. But because you have a degree in Russian poetry, great. You get that for the rest of time and eternity. But the reality is it doesn't mean anything. The real benefit of college is going to be what you did with your time as far as like your extracurricular, what clubs you were part of,
And
what groups you were part of, because it's networking at
right.
the end of the day.
And that's what I think is when people think back of like the college days, right? That is what, of course, it's not going to class, right? And listening to lectures. Of course, that's nobody's favorite,
Yeah.
except me, because I'm psychotic. But
Right.
the idea of what it meant to be in college. It was your first time away, where yeah, you have freedom, right? But it's what did you do with that freedom?
Fair.
It's this idea that you are for the first time beginning to go out kind of on your own, and it forces you to change the same way that delving
You
into
have a great time too.
business networking when you're an adult is kind of this same animal a little bit, in the sense that it's for the first time
Stress that you've been building up.
you have to go out and try new things and meet new people,
Right.
and experience things that you have never experienced. For you, being on football team, you talk about it, and being like one of the few white guys was a vast change of demographic and dynamic from where you grew up in Southern California, hoity-toity bullshit land, right?
Yeah, I think you had
And-
like 3 black kids in the entire school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's and then you're going to the deep south, you know,
Yeah, at the time when I came in as a defensive lineman, I was the only white player on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And so
Let's keep
it's,
trying. Wait.
I mean, it is a vast change from multi-million-dollar mega millionaire land to the deep south of kind of Hodunk, Florida, right?
Sure.
And but it
We're in the
apps
queue
and you
beginning.
talk about this a lot
That's
is
why I
that
said
it,
let's
it for sure
So
changed
log
who
in.
you are and your perception of things, right? But it would do that for most people.
That's what
Whether
queue
they
is.
take it
Queue
as
is
good or
one.
bad and how it changes them is up to that person. But that is what college is meant to do.
That's why it
And
just
for
helps
sure, it
with
changed me
the
for the
system.
better.
Right, and that's what you need, and that's why I think, gosh, we are getting off topic, but these are important things. Is you and I talk about this a lot. Is the advent of there's nothing wrong with a small town. We live in a small town. We love this small town. I'm from a small town, right?
Right.
Where it is, but the people that literally never leave are different. You need, and you don't have to go far, right? But you need to kind of be on your own a little bit
Mm-hmm.
in order, it's the spread your wings and fly type of thing, but it's you have to have a different experience to figure out what you want. Because for most kids at 18, 19 years old, it's either the path, which is where I grew up in Portage, Indiana. It was very much, and it's for sure my dad's generation and subsequent generations until you got to ours. It was if you are wealthy and you're a boy, you go to college, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're not, which is most of where we are, right, blue collar mania, it is you go work on the steel mill.
Right.
Your job, you're 18, you graduated, you go work in the steel mill, and that's it. And there are so many people that I know that are born, bred, and raised in that area. I mean, my grandparents built their house. My grandpa built the house in 1948, and it's still the same house that they live in. My dad built his house in 1972, and it's still the same house that they live in. They've never left. And there's such a air of familiarity when we're there, and it absolutely is my home, and my entire childhood is tied to this area, and it's great and I love it. And now being an adult and having a family, I totally see the benefits of raising a family in that area. However, when you never leave and you never experience something different, you don't know if that's the best option for you and your family. And it has taken, I think it's just, it is what it is, and this is the only option you have. This is the only card you have to play, so you have to stay. But what college does and does really well is not the degree. It is the idea that you get to go away, and for the first time, you get to experience what you like. You are not told by mom and dad that you have to do this or you can't do this. It's you get to experience and experiment more in college than arguably any other time in your life.
Without a doubt, but there's also another huge component to this, and it's the mixing of peoples.
Oh yeah.
College, what college truly represents is also why can work. It doesn't have to be college. It just needs to be the sake that you're going away. So it's going away in the military, going away. It's you're gonna go help the Peace Corps. You're gonna go do teaching without board or whatever it's gonna be.
Go on a mission.
Go on a mission, right? Anything where you have to leave where you're from, leave your immediate community. I played football with guys that had never played on a football field with white guys.
Yeah.
So they were from areas where there was no white people where they were from, right? That is what leaving, going to another place for a few years, the value is the fact that you are intermingling and you're mixing with people that are not from where you're from.
And that's important.
And that is what's important. And that's where college, so this is why the Greek system is so successful in colleges, right? So if you're going to be in a fraternity or a sorority, we all can have opinions about those things. But at the end of the day, it's networking. Yeah. You now belong to a sisterhood or a brotherhood the same way that I belong to with football and sports in college. It's very much a fraternity in college.
Oh, yeah.
And those are people that you more than likely can call upon at any time because you share that brotherhood.
Right.
And so that is a piece where now you have that networking, that then you have these people that are available to you, and that is, I think, the networking piece is huge for the rest of your life, and that's where college is valuable. But I would be willing to argue that that's going to be very similar for anyone that was either in the military or someone that
Right.
goes to these things where they're gone for, there's a struggle. There's a
Well, and
common struggle.
it's the idea of with strong fit, right? Moving your center.
Yeah.
Is you get pushed way to the edge of your comfort zone,
And it is,
and that's the only way that you change and grow.
and
that's,
exactly, there's no growth within inside your comfort zone. There's no growth.
right.
Right. The real growing begins once you get away from your comfort zone.
So we went off on a big tangent. The idea you were talking to a friend the other day. Continue.
No, yeah. So ultimately, the friend that we're talking to, right? He's the one thing that we were getting to that got us on the tangent was that the one thing that's nice about talking to him on the phone is when we left, I would call him sometimes weekly, but at least once a month, and he would never pick up the phone. And it got to the point to where I would leave him messages that would just be like a string of expletives, and then I would hang up, and that was it. And those were the only messages that I would leave him. And the one thing that's nice is that he says this to me all the time. He goes, the one thing that I like when I talk to you is that it doesn't matter if we haven't talked in 2 years, is that we immediately pick back up where we were. And for me, and he said, that's the sign of like true friendship, or someone that is a friend of yours, is that you don't get butthurt, right?
Aww.
I know.
Adorable.
It is. But that for sure, right? That if you have somebody that is shitty to you because you have been fostering that relationship and watering that seed, then fuck them. The reality is that they're not our actual friend. If they're gonna get butthurt because you don't talk to them every week, then they're not worth your time. So there you go.
Welcome to the lives of women.
Yeah. Well.
That's why my friends are 4.
Right.
But
I mean, yeah. So we're talking to our friend, and right, small business owner, and we were talking just a little bit about how are things going with each other. How's our small business going? How is his small business going?
in light
of COVID, right? And Corona wreaking havoc, and places being forced to be closed, and all these different things.
terrible thing.
Yeah, and the one thing that was an observation that he made, was what stemmed us to want to do this episode, was he goes, what's interesting is that in light of all this stress and the things that are going on, he goes, I have friends or people that I could have swore were going to be able to kind of step up to the plate or step up to the challenge that life has brought. And he goes, and they've just like shrunk.
Yeah.
They've cowered at it, and that they've locked themselves out, and they're hiding from it, and they're just, essentially it's just they're giving up. He goes, and then on the flip side, he goes, I have people where I really didn't know how much, tenacity or grit that they had. And he goes, and then in the face of adversity, like they've stepped up.
Yeah.
And it all was coming down to him talking about, it's like, I never would have thought, in my 40s, almost 50, or probably 50s, he's like, that I would have to hustle like this again. He goes, I was coasting.
Yeah.
He goes, I was coasting, I'd check in, I'd check out, I'd clock in, I'd clock out. And he goes, and this new normal, he's like, it has forced us to hustle. And he goes, you know what? It's awesome. He's like, I'm in love with the fact that, I'm hustling.
Right. And so something I have noticed too, in light of COVID, that goes along similar with that concept, is I have a lot of the lady friends, and I have them all over. So again, back in Portage, Indiana, we have some in Florida, we have some here in Waynesboro, so we have kind of friends all over. But there have just been so many moms that are struggling, and granted, and I think I've talked about this in previous episodes, is unfortunately, whether it's right or wrong, it seems to be that it's the mom usually gets the brunt of things in terms of having to do all the things all the time. And there have just been a lot of moms that have kind of seemed to throw in the towel a little bit. And granted, I was very much raised like a boy. My dad there was me and my brother, and there was no coddling. There was no, it's going to be okay. It was kind of the, nobody gives a shit about how you feel. You feel your feelings, then you suck it up and you keep going. And you get up and you go. And that was how I was raised. And for sure, I experienced the same things that everyone else is experiencing right now. And you have moments where you get depressed, and you have moments where you get real anxious, you get paranoid about what all this means and what's going to happen and what's our world going to look like and what am I doing right, what am I doing wrong, and I have all those same feelings. But this idea of just giving up and throwing in the towel is not an option, and there just seems to be too many people that it's like, yeah, we're just done. And it's like, what does that mean, you're done? It's like, you know, because I know people that are like, yeah, we're not really homeschooling anymore, or we don't care anymore, and it's just they're we're sitting in our pajamas
Guandolo.
all day, every day, and just binge watching
How art thou?
Netflix and waiting for the next step. But that's the problem. And if you haven't figured it out yet, and granted, we could be wrong, right? Nobody knows for sure. But it seems to be that when it's, everyone's going to be quarantined for 2
20
weeks.
minutes from my house.
And then turn
April
2 weeks.
15th.
Right.
April 15th.
And then
That's
it's April
Wednesday.
15th. And then it's, nope,
No, they have an apprenticeship program.
And it's going to be sometime in May. And then it's, no, our area is not supposed to peak until June the 10th. And then it's, no, it's moved up a little bit. And it's just like...
Well, no, June 10th. June 10th is when it's going to be all
right,
better.
Right. And so it's like, it's just these arbitrary dates. But, like, even if things open June 10th, what happens June 11th?
Yes,
Does COVID magically go away? Are we all magically cured and okay? And it was just a horrific nightmare for 2 months. Like, it's, you know what I'm saying? Is that people are sitting and just waiting to die, it seems.
Right.
Wait, they're sitting and waiting for someone to tell them what to do.
And that's the problem, is that it's, what do you mean? That it's like, well, I'm not homeschooling.
That's awesome.
It's too hard. And I'm just, it's too hard to go out. And it's too hard. And I get that, like, there are things you should and should not do. If you don't have to go to a store right now, don't do it. Like, there's simple rules, right?
Yeah.
But it's...
The problem is common sense is out the window.
Common sense is out the window.
Right.
Yes.
And if you're paying attention to the media, stop.
Yeah.
Like, just stop it. There's nothing there for you.
No.
It's and you can tell, because right now the idea of, COVID is going to get you, and then the numbers don't seem as extreme, and then it really doesn't seem as extreme, and depending on where you live, like, it can be laughable.
Yeah.
And of how bad it has hit an area. And so then it's, okay, well then there's giant hornets that are going to kill you, that are the size of small cats.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's, well, no, now there's this new thing, this Kawasaki virus, which is just...
The target children,
bro.
and the children are going to die.
And could it be from COVID? We don't know. At 11.
Yeah.
And so it's so much of that. And the problem is that because people are home, they're sitting on Facebook, and they're sitting on their phones, and there's nothing going on. So the problem is, and this is something that's real. And so, like, depression's a real thing.
Right.
If you don't know what to do next, if you don't have the interest or the desire to get out of your pajamas,
Mm-hmm.
to get off of the couch, you're fucking depressed.
Right. And that's okay. I mean, these are situations that absolutely warrant it.
So we're on the tour.
What do you do from there?
But that's
there's a
it.
goose
It's
that's
the way
watched
you
over
get out, and this is a problem that
friends.
is into a deeper conversation.
And
But
and
it's
someone's like,
the
so
only way out of
what's with the
depression
goose?
is
And
through
he goes,
action.
well, he goes,
Yeah.
what's nice about the
We
goose
as a
is that
culture are being
the
sold
goose
medication.
hates everyone.
Like,
equally.
that is what cures
Whether you're
depression.
white, black,
But
yellow,
talk to
orange. He
that
goes,
has
he
done
hates
an
you,
ounce of
he
research.
hates me,
Or talk to
he
anyone
hates
that has.
everything.
And we're talking
And
not
that is his job.
not
is
get
that
online,
he helps
do
until
a
he
Google search,
broke it down.
and
I had already
find what
heard this
pharmaceutical
on
companies
one of the
doing.
two Joe Rogan
But
podcasts
it's
he was on.
talk to
but
people
talking about
that
how
have
the
been on
geese help
antidepressants
fight
for
off the
years.
aerial attacks.
And it's the reality is that antidepressants, either that dosage needs to keep getting higher,
Mm-hmm.
or
Oh yeah, and our
at the end of
friends.
the day, it just
So we
doesn't
have,
work the
so
way it
we
used
have,
to.
Right.
And the reality is
one,
because
two,
it's
three
if you aren't
families
taking
that are
action
friends
to change
here
the
that,
environment, and
kinda
this gets
are
back to
all
to
one guy
Carl
is
Friston stuff
super
and
high,
talk about it
like,
before, but this
one
is
of the
much deeper.
main,
But it
like,
has to
voodoo
take
dudes at,
action.
like, the
And if you
local
don't have a
hospital.
desire to take
So he's
action,
like,
change your
and he was in
environment.
charge of the farm.
You're
that the
not going to be
hospital
able to get out of
runs.
this
That's
thing.
where they get all
Right.
their produce.
And we
so,
see it all the
and that's how
time
they
with
feed,
kids,
that's how
and we
they
don't
do
recognize
everything
it. So first of all, we're
for
not
the,
saying that like medication doesn't
for the
work.
hospital.
We're
They
not
feed
saying
hospital
that
staff and
people that are
hospital
on
people
it
that are
don't
at the hospital, they all get
experience
fed based off of the
a better
hospital's farm
life
that
or
they
better
have.
symptoms.
100%.
For sure. But you know,
Yeah,
but
pretty
it's
cool.
not
So
as cut and
Augusta
dry
Health
as
is the name
here
of
is a
that, but it's
prescription
still that's
Wellbutrin.
not
Here's a
it's still
prescription
like
for
privately
or
owned,
Prozac,
like small,
and then
And you are
period.
on it the rest of your life.
Right.
It's
And
supposed to be a
big
thing
business.
that you are fucking in the lowest of lows
That's
right
where my
now.
brother
Right.
and my mom
And
work.
you need an
They
artificial
work at
way.
the
You
hospital.
need a ladder. You need a rope
And,
that's going to get thrown down to you.
Right.
And
And
then
you
our
have
other
the ability to
friends
start making your
who
way
have
up.
chickens,
But
ahead.
in
and
order
big
to do
garden
that,
and
is
stuff
someone
here
can't
in our
push you up
neighborhood.
every rung of the ladder. You have to be able to do it to get yourself up.
Which is why it should never just
we're
be
just
one
waiting
thing. It never
for
should
the
be that you are
opportunity
taking
or
medication
time to,
and then that's
to where
it.
And
we'll
that you
go
live
in
the same
and buy
exact life
land
that you did
Exactly.
before.
together.
No, for sure. But
be
again, we
able
see it with
to see
kids.
what we
It's
wanna
when
do.
Michael gets
What we wanted,
has
and
behavioral
because they want to
issues.
farm.
When
You know,
he starts
ultimately,
crying
the perfect world is
irrationally,
that
or
we
gets
would
super
just
angry at
farm
people, and just
that would
or
be
you know,
it. Like, we don't
and
have to
gets
do
these
anything else.
moments, he gets
And
absolutely
for
depressive
us,
moments,
we want
right?
to be able to do the farming
And it's
stuff,
like,
but mainly just
dude, then
for
we need to fix
just
something.
self-dependent.
It's
You know,
get out of your darkened dungeon
not have
room
to
with
be
your
dependent
video
upon
games,
anybody else.
and we're gonna go out. We're gonna ride a
And
bike. We're gonna
and so then another
sit
friend,
together. We're gonna, it's
the other family,
as a parent,
who,
you
like, we all
recognize
live,
that
walking
okay, this
distance from each other's
environment that
homes.
he's in
So
is
we all
not
went up
serving him,
and did
and it's what's making him
the
depressed.
2
So
hour
we need to
lunatic
remove him
tour
from this
that we did.
environment. People do it all the time. It's my kid was struggling in class,
Yeah.
or my kid had this group of friends that were just making his life a living hell. And what do you do as a good parent? You remove them from that environment.
And you may have parents though that don't have it figured out. They don't understand, right? There's just huge questions. I don't know what to do. I don't know, like it's X, Y, and Z is happening, and I don't know what to do. And it's do an assessment. Assess.
Yeah, we did it.
What
we did
does
it.
your environment look
we
like
expanded
right now?
the
What
we
are the
expanded our
stimuli
garden. So now
that
we
are
have like
causing your
200
kids
square
to react
meters
the way that they are?
of garden
Listen,
in our backyard now.
my experience at the
And
military
then,
school
and then we got the chickens.
is the far
So we still
end
have
of this
8
spectrum.
chickens right now.
To where families have
then,
tried things, they don't know
but
what
the
to
plan
do,
right
and that
now
was such a
with
common thing.
one
Where it's just
family
like, I
that wants to
don't
do the
know
farm
what
and
we
us
would
is
do
that we're
after
gonna
this.
go in
I don't know
on
what's next.
50
This has to work.
hybrid,
And most of the time, our answers
meat
were,
chickens. Because they
don't
have
let 'em come
their
home.
church just bought like 4 acres
he
next
only
door
comes
to 'em.
home when the
And
school's
they're
going
like,
to
and
be
they're gonna
closed
turn it into
for
a
the
parking lot.
holidays
But
or the
until they
break.
do, we could put
And
one of those chicken,
let us do our job.
essentially like the chicken
Stay out of it.
mobiles, where the
Because
chickens
whatever
are
the environment
essentially
was,
just
whatever the
free-range
situation it
full-time,
was, continues
and
to
moving
cause
on
the
the
kid
land
to
is,
go down the
we could
path that
probably
they're
do it
on.
because we need to
And you
cull the
have, and it
chickens
only got
around
fixed through
9
action.
weeks.
And so that's it. So that's a
Realistically,
real thing, and
he's
that's
like, I
another
can keep
tangent. But
50
this is a real
chickens in
thing.
my
So if you are
garage,
someone that
the
is
chicks for
been
3
sitting
weeks,
and you have no
because
motivation,
Joel Southen's like, yeah, no, 3
you,
weeks.
you are going to
Just
have
kick
to
'em- kick 'em
recognize
to the
that
curb,
if you
kick
want
'em
to
out on
change.
the
And
main-
this is what kind of got
drag
us,
once
got
they're
our goat a
essentially
little bit,
the
which
summer,
was
like they'll be ready.
the idea of
So
you're sitting around
so we want to
waiting
go in on
for
the
the
50,
man,
so that would be
or
so
waiting
like
for the
within.
government
So in the
to
next
tell
few
you
weeks,
when it's
the
safe
plan
again.
is to
And the argument
go
that we
and
have is,
and get them.
okay, June 10th comes, you say, what
doing
happens
like
June
all the
11th? It's not like
processing and doing
COVID's going
everything
away.
Right.
Folks, the
ourselves and see how we
best
like
case
doing
scenario
it.
is the vaccine
Because at the
still
very least,
is
it's if
16
it,
months away.
at the worst
So
is that it's awful. It's way more
is
than
the
we ever
plan then that we
anticipated,
just
and
stay,
we'll
you
never
stay
do it
locked
again.
down?
And for some
we at
people
least
that
all
may
got,
be how
you know,
they
we
feel
got
the same. And, you know, it's
high quality meat.
But
A,
if you're going to
fraction
stay
of the
locked
price.
up, go ahead.
well, I was
But
say,
best case
we
scenario
are
is that we
not
kinda
advocating
do
that
dig
like
doing it,
people go
and
start
so we just
rioting and
doing it, and
busting
then once
out
our
at
freezers
seams,
are
right?
full,
You do,
then
I
we,
think, absolutely need
start
to adhere
seeing it.
advice
Because
from
the,
people that
you know,
know
the
what
federal
they're
law
talking
allows
about,
us,
which is usually not
we can sell
24-hour news stations.
chickens to users, as long as you are
In terms of
the
what
person
to do,
that
right?
raised them,
But
culled them, and processed
in
them.
that same
You don't have
breath,
to have
that
any
doesn't
certifications
mean that
whatsoever.
you
You
literally
can just
have
sell
to
them
sit
on
and
the roadside.
hide.
No, but you need a plan.
You do need a plan.
Federal.
And that's what I think everyone's
Yep.
lacking right now. And because
Federal,
there is
yeah,
no
it's a
next
federal
step, and
law.
people are waiting for them to tell them what to do. It's
Yeah,
okay,
I
well,
sat
I
once
guess,
the lunatic tour was over.
I'm
Salatin
here, then, and
took
my
people's
pajamas
questions and
until I
stuff,
die.
and
And
I overheard. He's like, "I'm gonna
that's
go and
that's
sit
not
over on
the
the
answer.
swing over by
Because
the
in
store.
case,
And so I just
for
went and found
me,
a
as an
bench by the swing
individual,
at the store
if
and
I,
sat. And
and I've thought about
he
this a lot,
sat
the
for
idea of
hours
okay, I'm going to remove
and just
myself
let
from this
people
situation. And
ask
as
me
if I was
questions
an
and
outsider
talk.
looking in,
And so I just
it
took
would be like,
tons
okay,
of notes
so
and
they
stuff. And
told
that was
you it
one
was
of the
going to be 2
questions. The guy's
weeks,
like, well, how do you
and then a month, and then
find
6
somebody?
weeks,
How
and
do you
now it's
sell?
2
And how do you
months,
do
and
this?
then maybe in
He's like,
June,
well, he goes, selling. He
and
goes,
there's
that's not a problem.
advice.
He goes,
You
as
wear
long as
your
you don't,
mask.
he goes, you can't sell
Everyone
to
has to wear a
Walmart.
mask.
He goes, why
No,
would
masks
you?
don't really do
And he goes,
anything.
and he can't sell like
Only
Kroger.
if you have an
He goes, but you can
N95
sell to
mask.
Kroger's
But you
deli.
can't get an N95
Or
mask,
you can
and then it's,
sell
oh, you should be
to
wearing gloves.
whoever.
Well,
You can
no,
sell
if
to
you wear the
restaurants.
gloves,
He
actually, you
goes,
have
as
a
long
higher
as they're
rate of
not going to
transfer
turn
because
around
you're
and
bringing
take
it
your
home,
chicken
and it's,
and then
there's
sell it
such
as a whole
conflicting
chicken
information that
to
is,
another consumer.
if you look from
As
an
long as you
outsider
are
in,
selling
it's
to end
so
users,
nobody really
he
has
goes, then
a
you
fucking
don't
clue
have to have anything.
on
As long as
anything,
you do
right?
all the stuff
So it's,
yourself,
and that seems
he
to be
goes,
the reality, right?
it's
I
protected
believe
under federal
wholeheartedly
law
that
they can't.
I'm hoping
It's
that
not
we have
illegal.
the most intelligent minds in the world trying to come
Yeah.
together to figure this shit out.
So
But
we'll see.
because it's not cut and dry, right now is a lot of experimental shit. It's, we think it's this, so we're going to try this avenue. And
I have
okay,
not
that doesn't
personally
work.
done
We're
it
going
yet.
to redirect
We
over
have,
here, and that's what's happening.
I have,
So it's because nobody has a clue what's
I
going
have
on.
a. We
For
think we have
me,
maybe 2
I
or
have to
3
do what's
roosters
best
that
for
we
my
can't legally
family right
keep.
now.
And what
And we
we
have to
are.
make individual
So
decisions
because they're
based
a
upon our
noise,
own area,
the noise
our own
ordinance, they're a
life, our
nuisance.
own
So you can only
situation.
keep
But
hens. So
understand
we're
that
going to end up,
it's
culling and
for the
processing
folks
at
that
least our
that
roosters and our friends.
don't know what to do.
Our friends
They're
bought a
lost,
bunch
right?
of fertilized
they
eggs
don't know what's
because they had a
next,
broody
and
hen.
and
They
get
let the
queasy
hen hatch,
thinking about
and
this whole
9
scenario.
of the 10
It's
hatched.
realized
And
you're
so
in
they're
a
like,
state
we're
of
bound to have
freeze.
some roosters that we
Yeah.
can't keep.
Oh,
So kind
You
of
know,
like,
if you're
our
looking
plan was
at
come
right
September, we were
synthetic
going to have to do it either
parasympathetic,
way.
how our
We
bodies
haven't gone and
evolve,
done it yet.
there's a reason why deer freeze when they
I've
get
watched
scared.
YouTube videos.
The deer in the headlights
literally
Yeah,
situation.
that's a real thing. And so what you're experiencing is a freeze, and you all that matters at that point is to get out of that freeze state, because there's nothing else. You only are going to spiral deeper into that, which is what leads to depression. This is why, right, folks that go manic and depressive, they have the bipolar stuff, that they go into that fetal position, the maximum sense of safety coming into oneself. It's realized that that is a layer,
Neurological
right, but
response.
that is a a shade of what you're experiencing. So
Yeah.
that's where it's the answer is, well, we're just stopping and we don't know what to do, and then that's it. It's, you want to start making those baby steps of taking action, and this is why it's these little things where it's like, well, you're not going to be able to go from, I can't get off the couch, I'm so depressed, I may cry at times just thinking about the situation,
How about
to
that?
you need to have a plan A, B, C, and D, and you need to have this outline laid out. It's not going to be like that.
No.
But it needs to be stuff that's simple. So it's, have you gone outside today?
Yeah.
Are you going for walks? Are you seeing the sun?
Yeah.
Do you have a garden? Do you care for something? Like, are there things that allow you to be motivated? It's those baby steps, right? We joke around all the time that just a really cheese ball chick flick 90s movie. It was 28 Days,
Yes.
right?
Sandra Bullock.
With Sandra Bullock, right? And she's
And Steve the Pirate.
yeah, Steve the Pirate. But it's a great movie as far as there's a lot of funny parts, but the part,
It's a very convoluted movie because it's not funny. It was
well,
supposed to be a
right?
comedy, but it's very heavy.
It's a heavy movie, right? It's about addiction, about somebody that goes to rehab, right? But some of the things in there are just, it's the jokes of, like, for folks is when they're getting done with rehab, they have to start slow. They can't jump back into relationships because it can be dangerous.
Right.
And that is like, you have to care for a plant first. And then if you can successfully not kill the plant for a certain amount of time, and I'm sure this stuff's real.
For a
I'm sure
year, then you can get a dog.
Get a pet, and then do the same thing.
Yeah,
and so
I've heard about
the
that.
joke is that it's at the end of the movie, right? Steve the Pirate has like this bulldog. And he plays this hilariously flamboyantly gay character, but he has like this dead plant, and he has this dog, and right, he's super sad. But it's that idea is you have to start slow,
Right.
and you have to start these things. But the answer cannot be that it's just you're frozen.
Right.
You have to have a plan, because the reality is that there's going to be people that depend on you,
Oh, sure. Yeah.
and that may be what causes people to keep moving forward. Is that maybe they have dependence.
Well, for sure. And as a mom, you absolutely feel this shit. Where it's like, just deep down, it's like, all I want is to lay in this bed. I'm sad. I'm irrationally sad sometimes about things that don't matter, but I get sad about them. I just want some time to lay here. But then it's the kids come in and it's, Mom, I'm hungry.
What's that? Say that again.
And the dogs bark. And then it's, Mom, Coco peed. And it's like, shit. And then it's, but it absolutely gets you out of bed. It's hard. It's very hard.
I've heard about it. That's the one thing that we keep talking about. Right?
Get up
this
and
feels
do
like it's the
something,
most labor-intensive
and that's why,
part of this thing, and that's where we're like,
the
okay,
people
we gotta
that
figure
are
out how we're
depressed,
gonna do that.
it goes with that starting slow. It's like, okay, 3 things you need to do today.
Yep.
And it's like, is it like, get dressed, eat something, and like, write in your journal.
Make your fucking bed.
Make your bed.
Yeah.
Do you remember what it was called?
Do, whatever it is, something just super simple.
I'm sure it's
because sometimes it takes all you have to do those things.
Yeah.
And that's okay. But
And you're a success that day.
Right. And that is so part of it. And you've gotten a little bit closer and a little bit better to working your way up that ladder. And that's, so again, that is that you can't keep doing the same thing
And expect a different result.
Right? And it goes along with the medication.
That's awesome.
You can't keep living your same life and pop a pill and assume that it's going to be all better all the time for the remainder of time.
Because you do, and here's the hardest part, you do feel better. You take the pill and you feel better.
Right.
You could take a placebo and you're still going to feel better.
Right.
But at the end of the day, you haven't made any progress.
No.
And that's what's so dangerous.
And that's why you continue to spin and spiral.
Exactly. Is that it's you're at point A. You pop a pill and you're feeling better. You're feeling better. All right, life's not so bad. The problem is you're still sitting at point A. The medication is giving you the sensation that you have made progress to point B. The problem is because you're still static. When that medication wears off, you come back to the realization that you're at point A. And actually, now it kind of sucks a little bit more because, man, I was feeling better. Shit, I'm still here. And what does that mean? And so all of a sudden now you got to take that pill again. And the problem is that food is going to do this, right? It's, I'm so depressed, or this is so stressful. So you grab the bottle of tequila, you grab the ice cream, you get whatever, and all right, I'm not thinking about this anymore. I'm feeling better. Or this show, and I be sitting here. It's like I'm gonna binge watch this show because what happens is you escape, and if it's exciting and you like it, right, your heart's pumping and everything's going, and so you're giving your body all these great signals
that it's doing something.
But then at the end of the day, you're still sitting at point A,
right.
And so that's why there has to be physical action that you are working towards point B. And point B could be as simple as, did you get a ceramic pot, did you put soil in it, and did you plant a tomato? Because now, tomorrow, you need to water the tomato.
Yeah, well,
and it's cold out,
right?
So you better bring tomato in. And don't kill tomato. And all of those are actual actions that took you from point A, and now you actually have gotten to point B, and now you actually have a plan. That's all centered around the tomato. And so that is literally what it means to go into those slow steps and moving.
And you hear about it all the time with like the old people that end up dying like super close together. And it's because they're both struggling, man. And they both, because obviously to die close together, if one person can be completely fine and the other, you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
But they're both struggling, they both have issues, but they get up for each other.
Right.
They keep going for each other. Because I gotta take care of Susan. Right?
We started watching a show called Afterlife with Ricky Gervais. His wife has cancer, she dies. It's at the very beginning, so it's not a spoil. She dies, right? And so he's so depressed, and realistically depressed, that he's like gonna kill himself. And the only reason he doesn't kill himself is because the dog needs to eat. So he can't kill himself today, because if he kills himself, then that means his dog can't eat anymore. So he, multiple times, in just like the first 2 episodes, he is literally about to kill himself, and then the dog comes by. at the most extreme.
Right, but it's the same concept. Is that it's a plan of like, okay, shit, now I have to get up, get the doctor,
That's awesome.
and then I have to find the food, and I have to feed the dog. Like there's stupid plans, right, in the moment, but again, it's
Right.
no matter how far gone
Friend's
you are,
place, right?
it is a movement towards something away from
Whatever you were stuck in.
right.
And so the thing is that this isn't cut and dry, and this isn't simple, because there's so many touch points or pain points that can cause a spiral to happen,
Right.
and for us to get depressed. Where's all the meat? Right? Grocery store farmers are being told that they have to pour out all of their milk.
Stupid.
So people are having a hard time finding food. Prices are getting jacked up across the board.
Yeah.
And then you're hearing that farmers are dumping food because their distributors are telling them to.
Yeah.
So and the problem is, those things, that can cause you to go all the way back to step A again. Now you're depressed. What are we going to do? We're going to starve to death. Or do we just don't eat meat anymore? And so then all of a sudden, now it needs to be, you could just go back into the shell and you get super depressed, or you meet that adversity. And this comes back to our friend talking to us about the two different people. The person that rose to the occasion, and then people that disappointed him as far as what he thought was going to be possible. So you gotta hustle, and you gotta figure it out. It's okay, how is your family gonna sustain during this time period?
Yeah, and I don't think there are any cut and dry ways.
Right.
But one thing, that we have noticed is you see the storm coming a little bit, right? Where it's like, okay, now all of a sudden, back in March, it's like, okay, they're limiting how much meat. Because so, Ryan, we have 8 people in our household that we have to feed. Because we have the 3 kids, we have your parents, and then we have grandma, right? And 5 damn dogs.
And you also are psycho about grocery shopping.
I've always been psycho about grocery shopping. Because I learned from my mother.
Yep. Shout out to Mom.
Yeah, shout out to Mom. But it is, since we have been together, there's never really been a period where it's like we have felt really good about where we are. It's always been like we're just making ends meet, we're getting there, we're hustling. It's like,
yeah, we've gone from being hilariously poor,
yes,
to doing okay,
to losing it all,
to starting over, not being as poor as we once were.
Yes, there are stages of poor we have learned.
Right.
But we have never been like, you know what? We can take a Hawaiian vacation this year. That sounds great.
Yeah, but I don't think there's a whole lot of folks.
No,
that
but like,
we're very much at a point where we're hustling, right? We're not at the point that I'm no longer waking up at 3 a.m.
Yes, you are.
No, we're not at the point that I'm no longer waking up at 3 a.m.
Oh,
I know, it's a lot of
okay.
double negatives.
Yeah,
But
double
the
negatives.
reality is that I don't wake up at 3 a.m.
For the fun of it.
for the fun of it. I wake up at 3 a.m. because there's work that has to get done for us to be able to do what we need to do, right?
And as far as, and granted, I don't have as important of a situation, but when it comes to what I can control
That
as
is
the
not
mom.
true. Okay, so for all the moms out there, you have to stop putting your shit down and making it less important for the things that you do for your family. No, this is not me trying to get kudos, because it's bullshit that moms do this to themselves. So fucking stop it. The reality is that what moms do, they're stay-at-home moms. If they work a part-time job and then they're back at the house, it's the stuff that gets done for the family. Whether it is the wash, whether it is the grocery shopping, whether it's taking care of the kids, whether it's making sure that the schedules are synced up, whatever those things are, it is integral to the success of the family. And it's equally as important. And the argument that gets made is that I'm not contributing to the family because I'm not making any money. I'm not making as much money, right? It's bullshit. Because money is not the issue here. The issue is that you need to understand that the time that you put in and the effort that you put in on the things that are your things, that are your responsibility, is weight that is held up on your shoulders And if you have a partner in your household that's helping
Yeah.
with other things
Like,
that you're not
I get a
doing,
I get
they're
a flu shot
shouldering
every year,
those responsibilities. So in our
but I
family,
know
it's
that I don't.
I
I
do
don't know. I
work
know I don't get.
for a 9-to-5
I'm not
job
dying.
that I
I
bring
haven't
in
died
money that allows
for
us to
multiple
live.
years from the flu.
We also have
So
our
the
business
reality
where I
is
do a
I'm
lot
less
of the
nervous
work
about a flu
that allows
vaccine.
us to
Whether
make money.
that's
But
ignorance or
this
not,
makes
it's
it to
just
where
I'm
those are
less
the only things I have to
nervous
worry
about that
about.
one. But
Everything else is fuck all.
and
I don't
you know,
have to worry
I don't
about
know.
it. And that's because
I
it all sits on
I never
your
was
shoulders.
that.
The only way I can
I
do the
haven't
things that
dived
I
into
do
like the
is the fact that
vaccine
you do those things. And again,
conspiracies
this
or
isn't for
anything. A
kudos.
whole lot of like what's wrong.
This
with
is a
them, what's
reality,
not
and
wrong
that's
with them.
not our
What I
own
do know
reality.
is
I
that my
guarantee
kids
there's
don't get
lots of
chicken
families out
pox.
there that are similar things, but
You know,
moms
I know I got
tell
chicken pox.
this horrible
My
lie
kids
to
don't get chicken
themselves
pox
because moms all
because they have
know
a vaccine
that they're
for it.
no good at being a mom.
So, but
They
I'm
all
also
know
like
that
an
they're not
advocate
as pretty
of
as they
having your
used to
kids
be.
like eat
They
their
all know all this
hands
bullshit, all this stuff that is this
You know, I
horrible
don't want them to
negative
have.
self-talk
I think
that
there's a
just
time and a place where
continues to put
they
yourself
are
down.
going to need to
And
have.
it's bullshit. So stop it. So, sorry.
They're going
Mic
to
drop.
get sick.
Yeah.
And they need to be able
Damn,
to
Jennifer.
It pisses
be
me
able
off
to
because
get
it's
some
this sensation that you're
antibiotics.
never
But I'm
good
also
enough.
I know that.
understand that antibiotics
Yes.
get overprescribed.
That's it.
So it's
Okay.
kind of, you know, for me, it's just a whole lot of
Fine.
nuance. But
Anyway.
no, when the babies came out, it was.
So we were talking
give
to
them everything.
one of our
Died of
friends the
some
other day.
stupid thing that they shouldn't have died of. That should have been gone.
It's always
100
nice
years
when I
ago.
get to be able to talk to him on the phone because you can call him. I think so. When we lived here before, we met everybody and a lot of our friends that we have. Actually, a lot of the friends we spend most of our time with now are actually folks we've met after the second time of living here in Virginia.
Which is bizarre. It's like a whole new world, so to speak. There's people that it's like we feel like we should have known, right? People that have kind of been born and bred in this area quite a bit.
Yeah, kids are all the same age as ours, so for sure it just happened to be that
We just lived in a different neighborhood.
different neighborhood. Kids went to preschools.
I guess they're
preschools.
preschools at that age, yeah.
Yeah.
But it was just, it's crazy that it's like so much of the reason that we came back was A, we love the area, we love the weather, we love the scenery, but it was the people.
Yeah, the friends that we had at that time.
Right, because Waynesboro was the first place from graduating college. We graduated in 2008 when the bottom fell out.
Mm-hmm.
So the prospects for John's job, and this actually kind of ties in a little bit to what we're going to talk about today, but it's the advent of, so you graduate college. So I graduated from dental hygiene school, and you graduated from UF, right?
Right.
And there were no jobs.
Right. Yeah, one of the jobs I had lined up to teach and coach. In fact, I'd already been coaching there for a while, for a couple months. Was told I had a job, come August. And then immediately it was like the governor froze all hiring in the state of Florida.
Well, yeah, so for being a teacher, your best prospect was going to be that it was you would get hired from a school district. You were guaranteed to pretty much be fired at the end of every year and then hope to be rehired by that same district. And your chances of moving around were pretty much a guarantee. So the idea that it was, okay, we're going to work for the school and this is where we're going to stay, and this is because we were at this point looking for a place to kind of have our roots be. And we love Gainesville, and we still love Gainesville, and every time we go back, it still feels like home.
Yeah, I mean, we were thinking about like a rent-to-own opportunity, like situation with the house that we had that was on that lake.
Well, yeah, it was. This is where we met. This is where we went to school. This is what feels like home, and this is where we're gonna raise a family.
Yeah, because like the idea is that I think the biggest thing that gets missed for folks of the purpose of going to college is there's a lot of emphasis on like getting your degree. All right.
Yes, that's kind of important.
It is and it isn't. I hate to break it to all like I don't know. Like depends on what you want to do. But the the degree they can't take away from you, unless whatever you do something egregious. But they can't take away your degree, so that's something that you get to have for the end of time. But because you have a degree in Russian poetry, great, you get that for the rest of time and eternity. But the reality is it doesn't mean anything. The real the real benefit of college is going to be what you did with your time, as far as like your extracurricular, what clubs you were part of,
And
what groups you were part of, because it's networking at
Right.
the end of the day.
And that's what I think is when people think back of like the college days, right? Is what, of course, it's not going to class, right, and listening to lectures. Of course, that's nobody's favorite,
Yeah.
except me, because I'm psychotic. But
Right.
the idea of what it meant to be in college. It was your first time away, where yeah, you have freedom, right? But it's what did you do with that freedom?
Yeah.
It's this idea that you are for the first time beginning to go out kind of on your own, and it forces you to change. The same way that delving into business networking when you're an adult is kind of this same animal a little bit, in the sense that it's for the first time you have to go out and try new things and meet new people,
Right.
and experience things that you have never experienced. For you, being on the football team, you talk about it, and being like one of the few white guys was a vast change of demographic and dynamic from where you grew up in Southern California, hoity-toity bullshit land, right?
Yeah, I think we had like 3 black kids in the entire school.
Yeah. And so it's and then you're going to the deep south, you know.
Yeah, at the time when I came in as a defensive lineman, I was the only white player on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's, I mean, it is a vast change from multi-million-dollar mega millionaire land to the deep south of kind of Hodunk, Florida, right?
Sure.
But it apps, and you talk about this a lot, is that it for sure changed who you are and your perception of things, right? But it would do that for most people, whether they take it as good or bad, and how it changes them is up to that person. But that is what college is meant to do.
And for sure it changed me for the better.
Right, and that's what you need, and that's why I think, you know, you and gosh, we're getting off topic, but these are important things. Is you and I talk about this a lot. Is the advent of there's nothing wrong with a small town. We live in a small town. We love this small town. I'm from a small town, right?
Right.
Where it is, but the people that literally never leave are different. You need, and you don't have to go far, right? But you need to kind of be on your own a little bit in order, you know, it's spread your wings and fly type of thing. But it's, you have to have a different experience to figure out what you want. Because for most kids at 18, 19 years old, it's either the path, which is you know, where I grew up in Portage, Indiana. It was very much, and it's for sure my dad's generation and subsequent generations until you got to ours, it was,
the kid was made that way.
if you are wealthy and you're a boy, you go to college, right?
And that's why
if you're not, which is most of where we are, right, blue collar mania,
they're okay.
it is you go work on the steel mill.
So as long as, and so that's why
you
I
you're 18,
respect
you graduated, you go work on the steel mill, and that's it. And there are so many people that I know that are born, bred, and raised in that area. I mean, my grandparents built their house. My grandpa built the house in 1948, and it's still the same house that they live in. My dad built his house in 1972, and it's still the same house that they live in. They've never left. And there's such a air of familiarity when we're there, and it absolutely is my home, and my entire childhood is tied to this area, and it's great, and I love it. And now being an adult and having a family, I totally see the benefits of raising a family in that area. However, when you never leave and you never experience something different, you don't know if that's the best option for you and your family. And it has taken, I think it is what it is, and this is the only option you have. This is the only card you have to play, so you have to stay. But what college does, and does really well, is not the degree. It is the idea that you get to go away, and for the first time, you get to experience what you like. You are not told by mom and dad that you have to do this, you can't do this. It's you get to experience and experiment more in college than arguably any other time in your life.
Without a doubt, but there's also another huge component to this, and it's the mixing of peoples.
Oh yeah.
College, what college truly represents is also why this can work. It doesn't have to be college. It just needs to be the sake that you're going away So it's
Yeah,
going
you're
away
making
in the
choices.
military.
Yeah.
Going away, it's you're gonna go help the Peace Corps. You're gonna go do teaching without board or whatever it's gonna be.
Go on a mission.
Go on a mission, right? Anything
like
where you have to leave where you're from, leave your immediate community. I played football with guys that had never played on a football field with white guys.
Yeah.
They were
Isn't that
from
crazy?
areas where there was no white people where they were from, right? That is what leaving, going to another place for a few years, the value is the fact that you are intermingling and you're mixing with people that are not from where you're from. So
And
things
that's
that,
important.
and that is what's important. And that's where college, so this is why the Greek system is
Heck
so
yeah, man.
successful in colleges,
Yeah.
right? So if you're going to be in a
He's doing
fraternity
good.
or a
He's doing good.
sorority, we all can have opinions about those things, but at the end of the day, it's
He has a
networking.
daughter and a
You
son.
now belong to a sisterhood or a brotherhood, the same way that I belong to with football
No,
and
thank
sports in
goodness.
college.
I would be
It's very
alone.
much a fraternity in college,
Oh, yeah.
and
Mom,
those
my
are
dad,
people
and
that
my
you
mom's mom, and then their
more than likely can
their
call
3
upon
dogs.
at any time because you share
So
that
it's
brotherhood.
8.
Right.
It's 8
And so
humans,
that is
5 adults, 3
a
kids,
piece
5
where
dogs.
now you have that networking, that then you have these people that are available to you, and that is, I think the networking piece
Yeah.
is huge for the rest of
No,
your
my
life,
brother
and that's where
lives
college
in-
is
he lives in an
valuable.
apartment just across
But I
town
would be
with
willing
his
to argue that
daughter
that's
and
going to be
son.
very similar for anyone that was either in the military or someone that
Right.
goes to these things where they're gone for,
But
you know, there's
everybody
a struggle.
needs to be
There's a
healthy.
Well,
common
and it's
struggle.
the
forward,
idea
so
of with strong
take
fit,
it.
right, moving your center
Yeah.
is you get pushed way to the
Yeah,
edge
man.
of your comfort zone,
And it is,
and
right?
that's the only way that you change and grow.
And
that's,
exactly, there's no growth within inside your comfort zone. There's no growth.
And shoot,
Right.
whenever
Right,
you
real
want to
growing
come back
begins
up,
once you get
come
away
up.
from your comfort
You got a
zone.
place to stay.
so we went off on a big tangent. The idea you were talking to a friend the other day. Continue.
No, yeah. So ultimately, the friend that we're talking to, right? The one thing that we were getting to that got us on the tangent was that the one thing that's nice about talking to him on the phone is when we left, I would call him sometimes weekly, but at least once a month, and he would never pick up the phone. And it got to the point to where I would leave him messages that would just be like a string of expletives, and then I would hang up, and that was it. And those were the only messages that I would leave him. And the one thing that's nice is that
Yep.
and he says this to me all the time. He goes, the one thing that I like when I talk to you is that it doesn't matter if we haven't talked in 2 years, is that we immediately pick back up where we were. And then for me, and he said, that's the sign of like true friendship or someone that is a friend of yours, is that you don't get butthurt, right?
Aww.
I know. It is. But that for sure,
Okay.
right? That if you have somebody that is shitty to you because you have been fostering that relationship and watering that seed, then fuck them. The reality is that they're not our actual friend. If they're gonna get butthurt because you don't talk to them every week, then they're not worth your time. So there you go.
Welcome
That's
to the
more
lives
you
of
know.
women.
Yeah. Well.
That's
yeah.
why
And
my
that's-
friends are
Our
4.
right.
But-
I mean, yeah. So we're talking to our friends and right, small business owner, and we were talking just a
And
little
you're
bit
coming
about
down from
how are
New
things
York.
going with each other. How's our small business going? How is his small business going?
In light of
In
COVID.
light of COVID, right, and Corona wreaking havoc, and places being forced to be closed, and all these different things.
Terrible things.
Yeah, and the one thing that
I say if you're
was
driving, man,
an
you're gonna drive right
observation
by us.
he made, was what stemmed us to want to do this episode, was he goes,
Extra 3
what's
hours
interesting
north of
is that
Mountain.
in light of all this stress and the things that are going on, he goes, I have friends or people that I could have swore were going to be able to kind of step up to the plate or step up to the challenge that life has brought. And he goes, and they just like shrunk.
Yeah.
They've cowered at it, and that they've locked themselves out, and they're hiding from it, and they're just, essentially it's just they're giving up. He goes, and then on the flip side, he goes, I have people where I really didn't know how much, tenacity or grit that they had. And he goes, and then in the face of adversity, like they've stepped up. And it all was coming down to him talking about, it's like, I never would have thought, in my 40s, almost 50, or probably 50s, he's like, that I would have to hustle like this again.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he goes, you know, I was coasting.
Yeah.
Because I was coasting, I'd check in, I'd check out, I clock in, I clock out, and he goes, this new normal, he's like, it has forced us to hustle, and he goes, you know what, it's awesome. He's like, I'm in love with the fact that, you know, I'm hustling.
Right, and so something I have noticed too, in light of COVID, that goes along similar with that concept is I have a lot of the lady friends, and I have them all over. So again, back in Portage, Indiana, we have some in Florida, we have some here in Waynesville, so we have kind of friends all over. But there have just been so many moms that are struggling, and granted, and I think I've talked about this in previous episodes, is unfortunately, whether it's right or wrong, it seems to be that it's the mom usually gets the brunt of things in terms of having to do all the things all the time. And there have just been a lot of moms that have kind of seemed to throw in the towel a little bit. And granted, I was very much raised like a boy. My dad there was me and my brother, and there was no coddling. There was no, it's going to be okay. It was kind of nobody gives a shit about how you feel. You feel your feelings, then you suck it up, and you keep going. And you get up and you go. And that was how I was raised. And for sure, I experienced the same things that everyone else is experiencing right now. And you have moments where you get depressed, and you have moments where you get real anxious, you get paranoid about what all this means and what's going to happen and what's our world going to look like and what am I doing right, what am I doing wrong, and I have all those same feelings. But this idea of just giving up and throwing in the towel is not an option, and there just seems to be too many people that it's like, yeah, we're just done. And it's like, what does that mean, you're done? It's like, because I know people that are like, we're not really homeschooling anymore, or we don't care anymore, and it's just we're sitting in our pajamas all day, every day, and just binge watching Netflix and waiting for the next step. But that's the problem. And if you haven't figured it out yet, and granted, we could be wrong, right? Nobody knows for sure. But it seems to be that when it's everyone's going to be quarantined for 2 weeks, and then
April 15th.
Right.
April 15th.
And then it's April 15th. And then it depends on your area, and it's going to be sometime in May. And then it's, no, our area is not supposed to peak until June the 10th. And then it's, no, it's moved up a little bit. And it's just like...
No, June 10th. June 10th is when it's going to be all
right,
better now.
Right. And so it's like, it's just these arbitrary dates.
Right.
But like, even if things open June 10th, what happens June 11th? Does COVID magically go away? Are we all magically cured and okay? And it was just a horrific nightmare for 2 months. Like, it's, you know what I'm saying? Is that people are sitting and just waiting to die, it seems.
But they're sitting and waiting for someone to tell them what to do.
And that's the problem, is that it's, what do you mean that it's like, well, I'm not homeschooling because it's too hard, and I'm just, it's too hard to go out, and it's too hard, and I get that, like, there are things you should and should not do. If you don't have to go to a store right now, don't do it. Like, there's simple rules, right?
Yeah.
But it's,
the problem is common sense is out the window.
Common sense is out the window at this point. Yes.
And if you're paying attention to the media, stop.
Yeah.
Like, just stop it. There's nothing there for you.
No.
It's and you can tell, because right now the idea of, COVID is going to get you, and then the numbers don't seem as extreme, and then, it really doesn't seem as extreme. And depending on where you live, like, it can be laughable.
Yeah.
And of how bad it has hit an area. And so then it's, okay, well then there's giant hornets that are going to kill you. They're the size of small cats.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's, well, no, now there's this new thing, this Kawasaki virus, which is just...
It targets children, and the children are going to die.
And could it be from COVID? We don't know. More at 11.
Yeah.
And so it's so much of that. And the problem is that because people are home, they're sitting on Facebook, and they're sitting on their phones, and there's nothing going on. So the problem is, and this is something that's real, and so, like, depression's a real thing.
Right.
If you don't know what to do next, if you don't have the interest or the desire to get out of your pajamas, to get off of the couch, you're fucking depressed.
Right. And that's okay. I mean, these are situations that absolutely warrant it, but it's what do you do from there?
But that's it. It's the way you get out, and this is a problem that is into a deeper conversation. But it's the only way out of depression is through action.
Yeah.
We as a culture are being sold medication. Like that is what cures depression. But talk to anyone that has done an ounce of research, or talk to anyone that has, and we're talking not get online, do a Google search, and find what the pharmaceutical companies are relaying.
Right.
But it's talk to people that have been on antidepressants for years. And it's the reality is that antidepressants, either that dosage needs to keep getting higher, or it, at the end of the day, it just doesn't work the way it used to.
Right.
And the reality is because it's, if you aren't taking action to change the environment, and this gets back to the Carl Friston stuff, and we've talked about it before, but this is much deeper, but it has to take action. And if you don't have a desire to take action to change your environment, you're not going to be able to get out of this thing.
Right. And we see it all the time with kids, and we don't recognize it. So first of all, we're not saying that like medication doesn't work. We're not saying that people that are on it don't experience a better life or better symptoms.
100%.
For sure. But but it's not as cut and dry as here's a prescription for Wellbutrin. Here's a prescription for Prozac, and then
you are
period.
On it the rest of your life.
Right.
It's supposed to be a thing that you are fucking in the lowest of lows right now.
Right.
And you need an artificial way. You need a ladder. You need a rope that's going to get thrown down to you.
Right.
And you have the ability to start making your way up.
But in order to do that, is someone can't push you up every rung of the ladder.
Right.
You have to be able to do it to get yourself up.
Which is why it should never just be one thing. It never should be that you are taking medication and then that's it.
And that you live the same exact life that you did before. No, for sure. But again, we see it with kids. It's when Michael has behavioral issues. When he starts crying irrationally or gets super angry at people and and gets these moments, he gets absolutely depressive moments, right? And it's like, dude, then we need to fix something.
Right. It's
get out of your darkened dungeon room with your video games, and we're gonna go out and we're gonna ride a bike. We're gonna sit together. It's as a parent, you recognize that okay, this environment that he's in is not serving him. And it's what's making him depressed. So we need to remove him from this environment. People do it all the time. It's, my kid was struggling in class. Or my kid had this group of friends that were just making his life a living hell. And what do you do as a good parent? You remove them from that environment.
And you may have parents, though, that don't have it figured out. They don't understand, right? There's just huge questions. I don't know what to do. I don't know, like, it's X, Y, and Z is happening, and I don't know what to do. And it's do an assessment. Assess what does your environment look like right now. What are the stimuli that are causing your kid to react the way that they are? Listen, my experience at the military school is the far end of this spectrum.
Yeah.
To where families have tried things, they don't know what to do, and that was such a common thing where it's just like, I don't know what we would do after this. I don't know what's next. This has to work. And most of the time, our answers were, don't let him come home. He only comes home when the school's going to be closed for the holidays or the breaks. And let us do our job. Stay out of it. Because whatever the environment was, whatever the situation it was, it continues to cause the kid to go down the path that they're on. And it only got fixed through action. And so that's it. So that's a real thing, and that's another tangent. But this is a real thing. So if you are someone that has been sitting and you have no motivation, it's you are going to have to recognize that if you want to change. And this is what kind of got our goat a little bit, which was the idea of you're sitting around waiting for the man We're waiting for the government to tell you when it's safe again.
Right.
And the argument that we have is, okay, June 10th comes, you say, what happens June 11th? It's not like COVID's going away.
Right.
Folks, the best case scenario is the vaccine is 16 months away.
Right.
So is the plan then that you stay locked down?
And for some people that may be how they feel the same. And it's
but if you're going to stay locked up, go ahead.
Well, as I say, we are not advocating that people go start rioting and busting out at the seams, right? You do, I think, absolutely need to adhere advice from the people that know what they're talking about, which is usually not 24-hour news stations. In terms of what to do, right? But in that same breath, that doesn't mean that you literally have to sit and hide.
No, but you need a plan.
You do need a plan. And that's what I think everyone's lacking right now. And because there is no next step and people are waiting for them to tell them what to do, it's, okay, well, I guess I'm just going to sit here then in my pajamas until I die. And that's not the answer. Because for me, as an individual, and I've thought about this a lot, the idea of okay, I'm going to remove myself from this situation. And if I was an outsider looking in, it would be okay, so they told you it was going to be 2 weeks, and then a month, and then 6 weeks, and now it's 2 months, and then maybe in June, and there's advice, you wear your mask, everyone has to wear a mask. No, masks don't really do anything. Only if you have an N95 mask, but you can't get an N95 mask. And then it's, you should be wearing gloves. Well, no, if you wear the gloves, actually, you have a higher rate of transfer because you're bringing it home. And it's, there's such conflicting information that if you look from an outsider in, so nobody really has a fucking clue on anything, right? So and that seems to be the reality, right? I believe wholeheartedly that I'm hoping that we have the most intelligent minds in the world trying to come together to figure this shit out. But because it's not cut and dry, right now is a lot of experimental shit. We think it's this, so we're going to try this avenue. Mm-hmm. And okay, that doesn't work, we're going to redirect over here, and that's what's happening. Right. So it's because nobody has a clue what's going on. For me, I have to do what's best for my family right now. And we have to make individual decisions based upon our own area, our own life, our own situation.
But understand that it's for the folks that don't know what to do, they're lost, right? They don't know what's next, and they get queasy thinking about this whole scenario. It's realized you're in a state of freeze.
Yeah.
If you're looking at sympathetic, parasympathetic, how our bodies evolve, there's a reason why deer freeze when they get scared.
The deer in the headlights situation.
Yeah, that's a real thing. And so what you're experiencing is a freeze, and all that matters at that point is to get out of that freeze state. Because there's nothing else. You only are going to spiral deeper into that, which is what leads to depression. This is why, folks that go manic and depressive, they have the bipolar stuff, that they go into that fetal position, mm-hmm. the maximum sense of safety coming into oneself. It's realized that is a
neurological
right, but that is a shade of what you're experiencing. And so that's where the answer is, well, we're just stopping and we don't know what to do, and then that's it. It's you want to start making those baby steps of taking action. And this is why it's these little things where it's well, you're not going to be able to go from, I can't get off the couch, I'm so depressed, I may cry at times just thinking about the situation, to you need to have a plan, A, B, C, and D, and you need to have this outline laid out. It's not going to be like that.
No.
But it needs to be stuff that's simple. So have you gone outside today?
Yeah.
Are you going for walks? Are you seeing the sun?
Yeah.
Do you have a garden? Do you care for something? Are there things that allow you to be motivated? It's those baby steps, right? We joke around all the time that just a really cheeseball chick flick 90s movie. It was 28 Days.
Yes.
Right.
Sandra Bullock.
With Sandra Bullock, right? And she's
and Steve the Pirate.
Yeah, Steve the Pirate. But it's a great movie as far as there's a lot of funny parts, but the part...
It was a very convoluted movie because it's not funny. It was
Well,
supposed
it's heavy,
to be a
right?
comedy, but it's very heavy.
It's a heavy movie, right? It's about addiction, about somebody that goes to rehab, right? But some of the things in there are just, it's the jokes of, like, for folks is when they're getting done with rehab, they have to start slow. They can't jump back into relationships because it can be dangerous.
Right.
And the idea is, like, you have to care for a plant first. And then if you can successfully not kill the plant for a certain amount of time, and I'm sure this stuff's real.
For a year, then you can get a dog.
Get a pet, and then do the same thing. And so the joke is that it's at the end of the movie, right? Steve the Pirate has like this bulldog, and he plays this hilariously flamboyantly gay character, but he has like this dead plant, and he has this dog, and right, and he's super sad. But it's that idea is you have to start slow, and you have to start these things. But the answer cannot be that it's just you're frozen.
Right.
You have to have a plan, because the reality is that there's going to be people that depend on you.
Yes.
And that may be what causes people to keep moving forward, is that maybe they have dependence.
Well, for sure. And as a mom, you absolutely feel this shit. Where it's like, just deep down, it's like, all I want is to lay in this bed. I'm sad. I'm irrationally sad sometimes about things that don't matter, but I get sad about them. I just need some time to lay here. But then it's the kids come in and it's, Mom, I'm hungry. And the dogs bark. And then it's, Mom, Coco peed. And then but it absolutely gets you out of bed. It's hard. It's very hard. Sometimes it takes all that you have to just get up and do something, right? And that's why, like, for the people that are depressed, like, it goes with that starting slow. It's like, okay, 3 things you need to do today.
Yep.
And it's like, get dressed, eat something, and, like, write in your journal.
Make your fucking bed.
Make your bed.
Yeah.
Right. Do, whatever it is. Something just super simple is just, because sometimes it takes all you have to do those things. And that's okay. But
and you're a success that day.
Right. And that is so part of it. And you've gotten a little bit closer and a little bit better to working your way up that ladder. And that's, so again, that is that you can't keep doing the same thing
and expect a different result.
Expect a different result, right? And it goes along with the medication. It's, you can't keep living your same life and pop a pill and assume that it's going to be all better all the time for the remainder of time.
Because you do, and here's the hardest part, you do feel better. You take the pill and you feel better. You could take a placebo and you're still going to feel better.
Right.
But at the end of the day, you haven't made any progress. No. And that's what's so dangerous.
And that's why you continue to spin and spiral.
Exactly. Is that it's, you're at point A. You pop a pill and you're feeling better. You're feeling better. All right, life's not so bad. The problem is, you're still sitting at point A. The medication is giving you the sensation that you have made progress to point B. The problem is because you're still static, when that medication wears off, you come back to the realization that you're at point A. And actually, now it kind of sucks a little bit more. Because, man, I was feeling better. Shit, I'm still here. And what does that mean? And so all of a sudden now you got to take that pill again. And the problem is that food is going to do this. Right? It's, I'm so depressed. Or this is so stressful. So you grab the bottle of tequila. You grab the ice cream. You get whatever. And all right, I'm not thinking about this anymore. I'm feeling better. Or this show. And I'm sitting here and it's like, I'm going to binge watch this show. Because what happens is you escape. And if it's exciting and you like it, right, your heart's pumping and everything's going. And so you're giving your body all these great signals.
That it's doing something.
But then at the end of the day, you're still sitting at point A. Right. And so that's why there has to be physical action that you are working towards point B. And point B could be as simple as, did you get a ceramic pot? Did you put soil in it? And did you plant a tomato? Because now, tomorrow, you need to water the tomato.
Yeah,
and it's cold out.
Right.
So you better bring tomato in. And don't kill tomato. And all of those are actual actions that took you from point A, and now you actually have gotten to point B, and now you actually have a plan. That's all centered around the tomato.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is literally what it means to go into those slow steps and moving.
And you hear about it all the time with like the old people that end up dying like super close together.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because they're both struggling, man. And they both, because obviously to die close together, if one person can't be completely fine and the other, you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
But they're both struggling, they both have issues, but they get up for each other.
Right.
They keep going for each other. Because I gotta take care of Susan, right?
We started watching a show called Afterlife with Ricky Gervais. His wife has cancer. She dies. It's at the very beginning, so it's not a spoil.
Mm-hmm.
She dies, right? And so he's so depressed, and realistically depressed, that he's like gonna kill himself.
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason he doesn't kill himself is because the dog needs to eat.
Mm-hmm.
So he can't kill himself today.
Mm-hmm.
Because if he kills himself, then that means his dog can't eat anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So he, multiple times, in just like the first 2 episodes, he is literally about to kill himself.
Mm-hmm.
And then the dog comes by.
Mm-hmm.
So at the most extreme.
Right, but it is the same concept. Is that it's a plan of like, okay, well shit. Now I have to get up. I have to get the dog bowl. And then I have to find the food and I have to feed the dog. Like there's stupid plans, right, in the moment. But again, it's no matter how far gone you are, it is a movement towards something away from
whatever you were stuck in.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And so the thing is that this isn't cut and dry, and this isn't simple, because there's so many touch points or pain points that can cause a spiral to happen,
right,
and for us to get depressed. Where's all the meat? Right? Grocery store farmers are being told that they have to pour out all of their milk.
Stupid.
So people are having a hard time finding food. Prices are getting jacked up across the board.
Yeah.
And then you're hearing that farmers are dumping food because their distributors are telling them to.
Yeah.
So what's the... And the problem is, those things, that can cause you to go all the way back to step A again. Now you're depressed. What are we going to do? We're going to starve to death. Or do we just don't eat meat anymore?
Mm-hmm.
And so then all of a sudden now it needs to be, you could just go back into the shell and you get super depressed. Or you meet that adversity. And this comes back to our friend talking to us about the 2 different people. The person that rose to the occasion, and then people that disappointed him as far as what he thought was going to be possible. So you gotta hustle, and you gotta figure it out. It's okay, how is your family gonna sustain during this time period?
Yeah, and I don't think there are any cut and dry ways.
Right.
But one thing, that we have noticed is you see the storm coming a little bit, right? Where it's like, okay, now all of a sudden, back in March, it's like, okay, they're limiting how much meat. Because so, Ryan, we have 8 people in our household that we have to feed. Because we have the 3 kids, we have your parents, and then we have grandma, right? And 5 damn dogs.
And you also are psycho about grocery shopping.
I've always been psycho about grocery shopping. Because I learned from my mother.
Yep. Shout out to Mom.
Yeah, shout out to Mom. But it is... Since we have been together, there's never really been a period where it's like, we have felt really good about where we are. It's always been like we're making ends meet, we're getting there, we're hustling. It's like
we've gone from being hilariously poor,
yes,
to doing okay,
to losing it all,
to starting over, not being as poor as we once were.
Yes, there are stages of poor we have learned,
right?
But we have never been like, you know what? We can take a Hawaiian vacation this year. That sounds great.
Yeah, but I don't think there's a whole lot of folks.
No, but like
we're very much at a point where we're hustling, right? We're not at the point that I'm no longer waking up at 3 a.m.
Yes, you are.
No, we're not at the point that I'm no longer waking up at 3 a.m.
Oh,
I know, it's a lot of
okay.
double negatives.
Yeah, double
the
negatives.
reality is that I don't wake up at 3 a.m.
For the fun of it.
For the fun of it. I wake up at 3 a.m. because there's work that has to get done for us to be able
eat,
to do what we
and
need to do, right?
And as far as, and granted, I don't have as important of a situation, but when it comes to what I can control
That
as
is
the
not
mom.
true. Okay.
Okay.
So for all the moms out there, you have to stop putting your shit down and making it less important for the things that you do for your family. No, this is not me trying to get kudos, because it's bullshit that moms do this to themselves. So fucking stop it. The reality is that what moms do, they're stay-at-home moms. If they work a part-time job and then they're back at the house, it's the stuff that gets done for the family. Whether it is the wash, whether it is the grocery shopping, whether it's taking care of the kids, whether it's making sure that the schedules are synced up, whatever those things are, it is integral to the success of the family and is equally as important. And the argument that gets made is that I'm not contributing to the family because I'm not making any money. I'm not making as much money, right? It's bullshit, because money is not the issue here. The issue is that you need to understand that the time that you put in and the effort that you put in on the things that are your thing, that are your responsibility, is weight that is held up on your shoulders. And if you have a partner in your household that's helping with other things that you're not doing, they're shouldering those responsibilities. So in our family, it's I do work for a 9-to-5 job that I bring in money that allows us to live. We also have our business where I do a lot of the work that allows us to make money. But this makes it to where those are the only things I have to worry about. Everything else is fuck all. I don't have to worry about it. And that's because it all sits on your shoulders. The only way I can do the things that I do is the fact that you do those things. And again, this isn't for kudos. This is a reality, and it's not our own reality. I guarantee you there's lots of families out there that are a similar thing, but moms tell this horrible lie to themselves because moms all know that they're no good at being a mom. They all know that they're not as pretty as they used to be. They all know all this bullshit, all this stuff, that is this horrible negative self-talk that just continues to put yourself down. And it's bullshit. So stop it. So, sorry.
Mic drop.
Yeah.
Damn, Jonathan.
It pisses me off because it's this sensation that you're never good enough.
I know that. Yes.
That's it.
Okay.
Bullshit.
Fine. Anyway.